Hello everyone, Nova Slaughter here. I'm going to be doing the best I can today to explain to you the hide-and-go-seek custom game type on Gears of War. And the first thing you'll notice is my brightness settings. They are all the way down. That is the major rule of the playlist. Secondly, you'll notice that the COG have a lot more players, and that's because they will be hiding and running away from me and Lee Raj here. And I'm going to be playing as Rom. Most people like to play as Rom, sort of a dark, intimidating Locust. Not really the best strategically, because it would actually be better to use one that's a little more quiet. But it doesn't really matter because they have to run away from you in the first place. Another thing you'll notice is the weapon selection I have here is the Lancer and the Sawed-Off. Those are the required weapons for this playlist because they are sort of the you have to actually catch the person kind of weapons. You're not allowed to use the bullets on the Lancer. You are only allowed to shoot the Sawed-Off and to use the chainsaw. You are allowed to melee with the Sawed-Off, but that's only if you run out of ammo. I've tried before to use the Gnasher and the Retro Charge for this playlist, but they end up being a little too good, so we try to stick with the Sawed-Off and the Chainsaw. You can try these rules in different ways if you want. I've experimented a little bit in my time, so these rules I'm going to tell you here are the best that I know of. Another little thing going in here is that you want to try to do this with 4 to 7 players. That's the best way to do it, because otherwise you'll end up with too many hunters on the Locust side, so you really want to keep it down in the amount of players. You'll notice on the overhead map that all the weapons have been switched out to smoke grenades, and that is because the people running away are going to need them. They're only allowed to use their smoke grenades until there's one guy left. He is allowed to fight back. These rules are very similar to Michael Myers if you've ever played that in COD 4, where basically the last guy is allowed to fight back after this one person eliminates the entire team. I will try to do this playlist in Judgment. It should be interesting to maybe attempt to use it with the free-for-all. But anyway, getting back to this, the smoke grenades are only allowed to be tagged to surfaces and thrown. You're not allowed to tag the Locust with them because that would knock them down and eventually it would kill them. So that's not really fair. It's not allowed. It's not even allowed when you're the last COG left. You're only allowed to use, like I said, the sawed-off shots, the melee of the sawed-off if you run out of ammo, and of course the chainsaw. So just stick to those main rules. They'll be the most suitable you'll find over time if you experiment with other ones. And one other thing I should mention here is the character selection for the COG. Generally people want to choose something that doesn't have a lot of bright lights. It tends to stand out more on maps. Some good characters I will go ahead and hint you towards would be Commando Dom, Griffin, or Classic Cole. Classic Cole has that white armor, so it's going to be a little bright. It just really depends on the hiding place. But it doesn't really have any lights on it at all, so that's an advantage right there. You'll notice here in this game that we actually ran out a little bit at first, and then we came back and sat in our spawn. That is because it was the first match I played, and I forgot one of the major rules for the hunters, and that is that you have to actually give the other team 30 seconds to hide. Now, when you're hosting this lobby up, you're going to want 1 round of execution and at least 7 minutes. This gives plenty of time for the search and for the standoff at the very end. Going to go ahead and give a few more rules here is the Locusts are not allowed to use their TACCOM, but the COG are. That is because using the TACCOM as the Locust would give you an advantage of just being able to hold down the TACCOM and not really check the dark places, because you can see shapes in the dark when you use the TACCOM. But the COG are allowed to use the TACCOM, and that's because they're hiding. They don't really need to be able to see in the shadows really that much. And it really is funny to use the TACCOM as the COG. Like, you sort of sit in a little hiding place with your TACCOM on, looking at your teammates while they're talking and yelling, and you can just see them disappear as they get killed, and followed by a little scream sometimes. Another rule I usually have is for game chat to be the selection for everyone, so the COG can work together and the Locusts that are there can work together. And if you're a Locust that's by yourself, oh well, looks like you're going to be alone for a few minutes. One rule that is really variable per group, it doesn't really matter, but the selection of who is going to be the hunter after you've already played a round. You can do this by vote. I mean, people can come up with who wants to be it, but you know, maybe people will disagree and they'll want to be it. So you can choose a rule to have for your group where it's the first person that died and the last person who died, or maybe the last 2 people, something like that. Just try to choose something that you can stick to. But this playlist is definitely very fun. You should definitely try it out with your friends or with me on a subscriber Saturday. I do open lobbies every Saturday starting at 1 p.m. Usually going to last about the whole day. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you guys want to play is good for me, as long as it's on the weekend and not late Sunday. Another thing I should mention here is I'm doing a highlights video from the open lobby I did yesterday. It's a highlights of the hide-and-go-seek matches. It is quite hilarious. I loved editing it up, and it just made me laugh the whole time. I also have another little joke video where this guy who was spectating me did a sort of little thing about Dom You just kind of have to watch that. It's really strange. Made me laugh pretty good. I think a few people that watched really liked it, so you should check that out too. I'll put an annotation on the screen right now. So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. Definitely check out the future videos I do on hide and go seek, and really try to explore the playlist for yourself with your friends. It's a lot of fun. When I upload that video, you'll certainly see a lot of crazy stuff happen. I got a quad with the sawed off in one of them in the video that's going to come up in maybe tomorrow or later today, something such as that. But I'm all out of time here. You guys have a good one. Peace out.